Well, slowly but surely, we are getting there. Of course, what am I referring to? A lot of you who've watched this channel for quite a long time know that I have a constant running bet that one day, eventually, we will see either the Daily Mail or one of these other really pro Brexit newspapers print the much wanted article that I am longing to see. And that is, of course, this isn't the Brexit that we voted for. And time again, we have seen, going back really since 2020, and even sort of before that, of Brexiteers coming out and saying, hold on, this isn't the Brexit that I backed. This isn't the Brexit I wanted, because all goes back to the 2016 referendum. Leave ran a completely wide campaign, because if they had genuinely seriously run the Brexit idea that we now have, this hard Brexit, it would not have won. And they knew it. That's why the campaign was large. It was, we'll stay in the single market customs union, we'll leave the EU politically, we'll, we'll have all the benefits when we leave. It was a completely wide gambit. They said everything and everything to try and get as many people on there, to put that box, to mark that X in their box. And they knew that, again, given the UKIP results for the past number of years, they roughly knew that they could get at least about 30% of the vote. That's what they always thought and suspected. So they always knew that they would need a wide campaign. And businesses, if you speak to business people who voted for Brexit, they voted for Brexit on the genuine serious belief that not a lot would really change, that we would leave the EU politically, but we would still remain in a lot of the sort of the single market, the customs union. We would sort of keep up to date with sort of EU regulations and follow what they did. And of course, it's turned out not to be true. And luckily, as I would hope had happened, you've now got more and more business people starting to seriously speak out about the economic harm that Brexit is not just doing to the UK, but to their own businesses, to local businesses as well. I mean, we've covered numerous times mostly from local papers over the years of businesses that are having huge problems when it comes to Brexit. And in this case, we're talking about immigration. We're talking about Labour, and not the Labour Party. Just we're talking about actual sort of physical labour, because ever since 2020, and we've sort of ended freedom of movement, we haven't had that flow of movement into the country. Freedom of movement was a very positive thing economically for the UK. And you look at the data, it bears it out. Immigration was good for the UK. The problem was you had people like Nigel Farage who would go around and he would, rather than look at or even argue about the facts of immigration, would rather focus on the feelings argument. And that's where he succeeded. And because he's dropped off, and because he has dropped off, sort of lost his popularity and lost his sort of, reason to be, the UK public has really lost interest in immigration. Immigration is not a serious issue in voters' minds anymore. Why? Because Nigel Farage is not running around going, oh my God, immigrants, oh my God, what he used to do. I mean, he's even tried to sort of revive it, but it's even failed, because Brexit and immigration were tied so closely together that most people think, now we've done Brexit, oh, immigration is not an issue anymore. But we are an island nation. We have falling birth rates, drastically falling birth rates. There's a lot of people, if you look at sort of the the stats guys, the stats people look at sort of birth rates and sort of death rates, we are not too behind going into the same sort of crises or problems that Japan is having with depopulation. We are not that far behind from entering into their same problems. And the thing is, you need immigration to really sort these out. But you know, I'm sure we'll get to those arguments to get to them. However, I want to go over his comments today because this, I wouldn't be surprised, becomes a big battle. Because remember, not only is this guy a big Leave supporter, but he's also a big Conservative donor as well. And I would not be surprised if lowering immigration or sort of relaxing immigration to allow more immigration into the country becomes a Conservative point of view, because there's already been worries, if you may remember, when Jeremy Hunt came in under Liz Truss. Many Brexiteers were worrying that's what he was going to do. That may very much be still on the cards. That's why Suella Braverman might be in the Home Office. So we could see a huge fallout from that. And if Sunak does pursue that, that could also, as we've said before, Sunak's government is a house of cards built on quicksand on an earthquake fault line. It could go at any moment if there is a big enough tremor. And the immigration certainly could be a big enough argument for this. So let's go into what the next boss had to say. So like I said, this comes from The Guardian with the title of Not the Brexit I Wanted. Next boss calls for more foreign workers in the UK. Simon Wolfson, the chief executive of the clothing and homeware retailer Next, has urged the government to make it easier for foreign workers in the UK and said that this is not the Brexit I wanted. The Conservative peer and Brexit supporter said the government was blocking the much-needed workers from entering the UK, even though firms were desperate for labour. We have got people queuing up to come to this country and pick crops that are rotting in the fields, to work in the warehouses that otherwise wouldn't be operable. And we're not letting them in, Lord Wolfson said in an interview with the BBC. In respect of immigration, it's definitely not the Brexit I wanted, or indeed many people who voted for Brexit wanted, he added. Businesses across the UK have been struggling to find staff, partly due to the Brexit restrictions, and that has meant that EU citizens can no longer have the right to work in the UK. It has affected hospitals, pubs, restaurants, logistics firms, and even last year, the government was forced to offer temporary visas to lorry drivers and poultry workers to help fix the resulting supply chain crisis. Wolfson said that most people in the UK had a very pragmatic view of immigration and urged the government to take a different approach to economically productive migration. Yes, control it where it's damaging to society, but let people in who can contribute, the next chief added. And here's the thing, there was no problem with our immigration system. Even when we were in the EU and we had a whole, freedom of movement, there was no problems. There were systems in place to do it. You could have operated very, very well successfully under this. It's just that Nigel Farage was running around whipping people up into a frenzy, saying, oh my God, immigration's a problem. We need immigration, like it or not. And, I like that it says, oh yes, we've got a very pragmatic view and control it where it's damaging to society. Well, what do you mean where it's damaging to society? Because you're talking about what you need is the low-skilled immigration. Well, currently the Conservatives are massively talking about, oh, no, we want more high-skilled immigration. So, yeah, there's a lot of problems when it comes to sort of immigration, and he's just talk about problems locally, but there's all kinds of stuff that really sort of play into sort of why people are having such problems for this. But anyway, back to it. So Wolfson said it was still worth incentivizing businesses to hire local workers in the UK, and said that this could be achieved by making sure firms pay a 10% tax to the government on salaries of foreign hired labour. It would automatically mean that businesses never brought someone into the company from outside if they could find someone in the UK, he said. But if they generally can't, they'll pay the premium. You have to remember, we're all stuck in this Brexit argument. We have to remember that what post-Brexit Britain looks like is not the perspective of those people that voted Brexit. It's for all of us to decide, Wolferson said. So again, Um, he's desperately there trying to say, yeah, we all didn't vote for this. Someone needs to seriously come up with a plan. And here's the thing: if the Leave campaign put forward a Brexit campaign that was not what people eventually voted for, how can we then justify this hard Brexit that we've then ended up with? And I've said it very clearly. There is a massive move that any future government, either Labour or Conservative, could very easily just go and rejoin the single market, and it would not need a referendum, because Leave's campaign at the 2016 referendum was to remain in the single market and customs union. That is entirely achievable. It is doable. And I know there's all people down below who say, oh, no, that's not possible. You'll never be let back in. Which politicians are saying this? Which EU politicians are saying this? Which EU politicians are going, no, the UK won't be allowed back in? None of them are saying it. They're all very much saying, yeah, sure, you can come back in, you can reapply. That's not an issue. And for those of you saying, oh, no, you can't because you've had too much changes, well, we've done this before. We did it back in the day with one bill to do alignment, and we can very easily do it again with like an EU alignment bill. It's not that hard. It's not that difficult to do. The UK can very easily get back into, I think, the single market customs union. That's not an issue. That's really not an issue. And I think even one day rejoining sort of, the full EU is not an issue either. So, it's doable. It's entirely doable. So, yeah. So as always, like I say, guys, typical, Brexiteer, not the Brexit I wanted, because, well, the 2016 campaign was a wide one. It tried to get as many people as possible. And as we've said before, if this Brexit that we got was what the Leave campaign actually campaigned on, it would have never have won. It would have never have gotten the votes. It would have never have gotten this high majority, because it's not what people wanted. Because there were large swathes of people who voted for Leave who wanted to remain in the single market and customs union. So, so as always, guys, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.